portions, the different parts of the midah of zehirut, of vigilance, which means to say that a person has to constantly make assessments of himself, and there's two parts to it. He says, number one, first of all, a person has to identify what is the true good in the world, and what is his true purpose in the world, and then what is evil he has to run away from, and, as they say, be on the derech. On the derech means on the right path. You're choosing, constantly making the right decisions. And then the second thing is, even when you're on the path, and you're doing the right things, more or less, in each of your deeds, in each of your mitzvot, in each of those things that you did on that path, you have to check each of those items. You have to probe them and make sure that they are fully good. The person could say, okay, at least I brought you water, but why did you bring me half cup? You should have brought me more water. Why didn't you buy this? Each case itself, each deed itself can be probed even further to make sure it's done the right way. And he says, a person is required to do some examination of himself, not just during the deed, and not just outside of the deed. You have to do both, meaning when you're downtime and during the actual act itself, before you're about to perform it, person has to go and ask himself and tell himself to do the right thing and to try to do it in the most proper way. And he has to weigh his deeds. A person is supposed to really, at the end of the night, before when he's doing Kriyat Shema Mitah, he should preferably go through his day in his mind and think about what he did and what stood out and what's really good and what's really bad that he did that day. How can he improve? How can he change his ways? That's not in the actual moment. And then there's reminding yourself right before the moment or right during the moment to do the right thing. So therefore, a person has to know that it's going to take some speculation. It's going to take some assessment in your mind to be able to fully become that better person you're supposed to become. And the sages tell us this is you have to, if you don't know ways to overcome yourself, you have to find ways to overcome yourself. There's a famous mashal that I heard one time that it's about analyzation and speculation, assessing yourself. All these things help tremendously. What was the mashal? He says there was a guy who was, rushing to somewhere. He was at an appointment. He was with his wife, and they were driving, waiting at a red light, and all of a sudden this huge car smashes into the back of his car. And he opens the door. He sees this some big SUV. He's all upset. His car has no back seat now. He got all crushed. He's so furious. He says, "I have to go now. I have to sit here and deal with this." So he goes and he tells his wife, "I'm going to give this guy a piece of my mind. I'm so upset, furious." So he goes and he sees who comes out of this SUV. These like four gorillas. These four thugs with big chains, he says, if I start up with these guys, I'm toast. So what does he do? He takes out his car, he writes some information. He says, I'm so sorry I was in your way. Please have mercy. Here's my car. I'm sorry for your bumper. We'll call you. We'll fix it. I'm sorry. I'm really in a rush. He gets in his car and he drives away with half of his car. Why is it? He was so furious. He was ready to rip somebody's head off. But all of a sudden he's like the biggest Baal Musar, that like in 1 second he calmed himself. Answer is that a person values danger, and we know to stay away from danger, and we know no matter how angry you are, it doesn't make sense to go fight these guys, right? You got to be quiet. So therefore, just like a person understands that, so too if you learn, and so too if you reassess yourself, and so too if you speculate and probe your deeds, a person can get to the point where a person can say, even in a case where you think it's okay to get angry, even then you realize it doesn't make sense. Even then you realize it's not worth it. Even then it's like danger. A person in his mind already has predetermined reactions to every single thing that happens to him. And he has to do certain rewiring of his mind, rewiring of what a normal reaction would be. And once you learn enough, and once you teach yourself enough, you can actually change what your your notions were and what a normal reaction is in certain situations. In the beginning, people used to think, yeah, if a guy cuts you off, you roll down the window and you tell him off. That's a normal thing to do. But once you learn more Torah and you start realizing everything's from Hashem, you start realizing that it's not good to let your anger out and not to put people down, not to make chilul Hashem and all these things. You learn, you remind yourself, no, it's not a normal thing. It's okay, let it go. It happens. Hashem made it for a reason. It's not him, it'll be somebody else. I had to go through this, and therefore a person will not even do that anymore. He won't even roll down the window and say something to that guy. It's all because in the outside of the moment, he reminds himself, outside of the moment he learns, and during the moment he reminds himself. These things together really makes a person who's even religious, who's even on the derech, makes each of those steps on the way that